Resident Evil 4.
Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Resident Evil 4 professional no damage run. This is the final part of chapter 5.3. We're coming very close to the Krauser fight, and thus my friend would slap me if I didn't share quite a legendary story in our circle of friends. So, from the Time Cop crew, for the people who've been with this channel quite a long time, you'll know Aiden. I mention him frequently. He's my best friend. He's a dude that I'd like to feature more on the channel, but unfortunately right now circumstance doesn't really allow me. He's a very good Resident Evil 4 player. And back in the day, back in the GameCube release, there was this really famous story. We have a friend called Simon. He's one of those friends who's not really a friend, but every so often when he's lonely or he needs to find a girlfriend, he'll show up and hang around with you, and then as soon as he gets a piece of poon, he'll vanish and, you'll not even see the dust. He's just gone. He's one of those kind of friends. But when he's there, you think, well, this guy's super cool, he's awesome. Why does he suddenly vanish and then completely forget his friends once he's got some ulterior motive? We will never understand this man. And the story is as follows. Simon had a reputation for lying. It was never malicious lies, it was always game related, but it was never proven, so we used to mock him quite a lot for it. And the big famous one here was, he used to make out that he was really good at Resident Evil 4 and he was like the king of professional mode, when at the time Aiden probably was, because I'd not played it in a long time and Aiden was pretty sharp. And Simon got stuck on Krauser and he couldn't beat him. And we didn't know this at the time until he came to Aiden and asked Aiden to beat him. And the funny thing was, afterwards, he continued to act like he was this big baller, and he was super good at the game and like the best out of all our friends, and telling his war stories of how he beat this game on professional and did it all awesomely, when secretly me and Aiden knew he didn't, because if it weren't for Aiden and Aiden's skill, he would have never got past the boss fight that you're about to fight. And I bet everybody listening right now has a friend or a story very similar to that one. And don't get me wrong, they're not the funniest of stories, but the memories of them are where the laughs come from, because, what is the point in that shit? There was a guy I went to college with, and I used to tell him, what I'd been recently doing in games. It was innocently, maybe he might have perceived it as me bragging, which it was never intended to be. I was just, updating my friends on what I'd been playing. And every time you said something, he used to say, oh yeah, I've done that. And it's one of the most frustrating things ever, because they're those people they're the story toppers, the stereotypical story topper person who has to have the last laugh, who has to always usurp anybody else on everything. And we're all guilty of it from time to time. It's pride. But every so often it runs abound, and I'll never understand it at all. Sometimes you just need to let somebody have their moment. And unless it's YouTube comments where you're getting into those, silly, pedantic squabbles back and forth, that's different. That's more theatre than anything else. But when it comes to something, like a game, I'll never understand just letting people have their moment. I suppose it must be a mindset. But it is real, and we've all got that friend. But I love tripping them up. I always used to have so much fun tripping them up. And the famous one for me was, I'd just beaten Devil May Cry on Dante Must Die mode, and I was telling people, this game is really hard. I'm getting my ass kicked. It's beat me up for years, and I finally beat it, and I'm super happy. And of course, this guy had done it as well. And I was interested to hear his thoughts, because when somebody tells me they've done something really hard, and this is a story from back when none of us had access to the internet, so there wasn't these big forums we were a part of. So when you ask him stuff and then you realise his story doesn't add up, it gets a little bit slimy. So I ended up saying, what did you do for the Pink Elephant boss? And I mastered a little bit better than that. I compared it to some kind of deity from a religion, and I said and he said, I don't really remember that one. I says it's that pink elephant, and he went, oh, I just used this against Pink Elephant. I'm like, oh, that's funny, there is no pink elephant. And it was just that shit-eating grin moment of, yep, you're full of it. But people always do that, isn't it strange? And I wonder if it comes from insecurities, if you want to drop the pseudo-psychological aspect. Maybe they want to feel part of the crowd. They want to feel in as opposed to on the outside, which I get. I've never really been that person, but I can understand somebody else having that insecurity. But it's just a strange thing.
Welcome.
So I'm I'm hesitant to continue about Wonderful 101 because I know exactly what's coming up here, and I have to talk over it because it's the Krauser fight. It's the bit everybody's been holding their breath for, because it's that kind of section. I knew Krauser was going to be hard. I had no idea just how random he was going to be, because I couldn't remember my previous professional fight. I just couldn't. All I knew is use the knife on the final section and he's easy. And I say that sparingly. He's easy when you get a good pattern. All about RNG. So at the beginning, there's about 2 to 3 phases of chasing him down, and he can chase you down from any angle. There's probably a limit to 3 or 4 locations, and it's best to know them all, but I don't. So this is me just responding. The first part of this fight, I got on a couple of tries, because I shoot him there with the broken butterfly because it's powerful, and I want to put some damage on him. I come into this room, and then I just stand next to this door, because what I found was he would run up to me, and instead of coming from the ladder, instead of coming through the window, he would break the door, and when he broke the door, it would allow me to stun him and hit him with the knife. When he throws the flashbang, it means he's going to run away, but it doesn't mean you're safe. It usually means he's moved on to the next part of the fight. But just be aware, he can shoot you from a distance with his bow, he can shoot you with his TMP, and he's very accurate. So the pattern I got was when I came up here and I picked everything up. When I looked out of this wall, he would be down there. So you'll notice I have a little glance, I don't go too far out because he will shoot you, and then I push forward. And right now, through this door, he'll either be behind the first wall and charge you, or he'll be at the far wall and shoot you. And boom, he was about to hit me with a knife, I shoot him in the head, he runs away. From this point onwards, you're okay until you get to the crossing of this bridge here. At this point, he's going to be on the balcony. From here, he's either going to chuck grenades at you like that, or he's going to shoot you. And if you get close, he's going to drop down. So at this point, you want to hit him with whatever you can. I shoot him, he runs close, I hit him with a knife. As soon as he throws the flashbang, he runs away. And at this point, I don't think there's a checkpoint, so you have to do each of these phases again if you make a mistake or if he kills you, and it's very easy to. But after the next phase, I think you get one. So I don't think it's too bad for that. So this is the hardest part, I think, personally, because you have to do all that, what you've just seen. I think you get a checkpoint at that door I kicked open, the blue one, but here you're on your own. And this is really annoying, because sometimes you'll be looking for him and he'll come off camera and attack you, and he'll come from an angle you really don't think he should have been able to hit you from. And it's just one of those archaic parts of how the camera works. So this is him above me chucking grenades. Once he's finished, he's going to drop down. Wherever he drops down, I need to be aware. I saw him there, put the knife on, he does his little dash, he's going to get close. You need to land these guys. I cannot even say how many times I've messed those up. So easy to do. But once you do that, he'll run at you. You want to hit him with everything you can. I'm going to try and use the knife as much as possible because it does the most damage to him, I believe. I don't know where I got that stat from. It might have been something I've always known, but back in the day, I remember somebody telling me that it has the highest damage modifier against him, and that's why I've always tried to use it. But that looked easy, didn't it? You know, wait for him to drop down, hit him with a magnum, knife him, wait for him to drop down, hit him with a magnum, knife him. But it can go wrong so quickly, and that checkpoint is a little bit longer than I would have liked. But once you've done that part, we get to push the statues onto the plates, and then step on the third one, and it's going to remove the grid from on top of the switch. Ignore the music. The music is all bombastic for no other reason than we're still technically in a boss fight. We're just not in any danger of being bossed, which is quite useful. But I do find it funny that they put a pushing the statue puzzle in this game, because if you think about it, it really is the origins of Resident Evil. There's been one of these in all of the early ones. In fact, there was a lot of instances in it in the first game of pushing stuff, stairs and bookcases and all that kind of good stuff. But as soon as you pull the lever, or I think the checkpoint's now, after you've just done that puzzle, because each time you have to press the lever to make this go down. So go up to it, push it, and now you're officially in danger once you get out of this tower. You can spot Krauser here by his shadow, usually. Sometimes he won't be there, other times he will be. I run past him here. I don't see the point. See him on the corner? That's the way to indicate that that's where he is. You can run past him and hit the switch, and I think if you get to the cutscene before he attacks you, it'll put him back into a neutral state and he'll leave. The reason why I say I think that is how it works is I think I did it, but that was obviously not a successful run. And this right here is... I hate this part. This took me longer than the Krauser fight, which should never be the case, and it was because there's a section coming up where I just couldn't avoid damage. And in the end, I ended up trying to run it, and it worked, and it really made me mad, because I knew exactly what I had to do, I just couldn't do it fast enough. So, it's this part. As soon as this cutscene ends, there's a robot in front of you, and no matter what I did, I could not kill it, or get past it, or get away from it without taking damage. And in the end, I run past it, I hit that little vignette, and boom, immunity. But that little run after that talk with Krauser, that 5 seconds, took about half an hour, because I just couldn't do it. Anybody who's tried that section and who's struggled like I did will know exactly what I'm talking about, because it's just bullshit. They've got splash damage, they're so close to you that you can't safely shoot them. It's just nasty. It's really, really nasty. And you're going to see me pick up a herb here twice. And the reason for this is I did not beat Krauser in this phase my first attempt. You know, I'm not that good or that lucky. So you're going to see me pick this stuff up, trigger the fight, and then after the fight I'm going to re-pick it all up, because I got unlucky on this final phase. It took me about half an hour to get as well. And if you remember all the way back when I posted those clips about the world's strongest zombie and the Krauser cockblock, that was when I recorded this. So if you want an idea of how long I've had this project recorded for, look at the date on that video. But this right here, guys, is all RNG. It's all indicative of if you can keep Krauser in a stun lock. If you can continually hit him and you're in range and interrupt him, he will die like the easiest boss on the game. If he for some reason gets out of range or the hit detection hits his crazy mutated arm, you'll just not be able to stun him and he'll hit you every single time. It's one of those fights where it almost feels like it's out of your hands, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but when it goes well like that, it looks amazing, because there's going to be people who've watched this who have nightmares about Krauser, not even on professional, just on the normal game, because for the average gamer, he's a very tough fight. He's way harder than Sadler is. You know, I don't think we have any other bosses left except for Sadler, so you've pretty much, if you can beat Krauser on professional, you can beat professional. It's just how it works. And you'll have to excuse me here, I was a little bit foggy on what I was meant to do. And of course you have to hop down here and access the door before the time limit runs out. But I'll always remember the big thing that put me off professional when I first played it, and it was the fact that you don't get the vest. So if you've never played this game before, when you get to the island you get access to a ballistic vest, I think it's called, and it lowers the damage that Leon receives. It also changes the way he cosmetically looks, which I think is one of the coolest things that can happen in games, but it doesn't happen nowhere near enough. Like, being able to have an effect on your character is the coolest thing in gaming, and anybody who played the Prince of Persia remake, not for the last gen, but for the one before it on the PlayStation, I think it was PS2, the progression of the game was marked by the damage of the lead character's suit, and every so often he would tear parts of his suit off until by the end he was, you know, the authentic, traditional Prince of Persia kind of shirtless, gruff-looking, you know, prince guy. But at the beginning, he had a full, like, suit of armor, which gradually decayed, and I thought that was such a cool way of handling progression of the character's outfit, and it's something that continues in games like Uncharted, but it doesn't happen enough, I don't think, and I don't think it's important enough. But thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.